While your Mac comes with many apps pre-installed that can help you get your work done, like Pages, Numbers, Keynote, and Photos and other apps, you may want to download third-party apps to do certain things. One of the main ways to get third-party apps is from the Mac App Store. This is an official store from Apple. You can get to it by going to the App Store app on your Mac. And any app that's in here has been reviewed by Apple. And not only that, the developer is held accountable for the app as they have an account and they are tied to the App Store. So there's a certain level of safety that comes with downloading apps from the App Store. To get apps in here, you can go through the various different categories, or you can just search for the app. So you can search for the app by name if you know that you want an app and jump right to it. You can also search for things that you want. For instance, if you're interested in an alternative word processor, you could search for word processor and come up with various apps that have that keyword. With these apps, you could go in and then look at reviews for them, read reviews, version history, and lots of information about the app. Also pay special attention to the section where it says in-app purchases. Many apps you'll find are free, but you actually have to pay to get the functionality that you may need. At the top of any app window here, you're going to get a Get button, and that will happen if the app is free. If the app costs something, you'll see that specified instead of the Get button. So for instance, here's one that cost about $50. So a lot of apps are free, but they have in-app purchases. Some apps are free without any in-app purchases. Other apps cost something. Sometimes you need to have a membership to fully use an app. For instance, Microsoft Word is here and it appears to be free, but of course most of the functionality is locked up in having a Microsoft account that you pay a subscription for. So you get all sorts of different software in here. And if you want to add some software to your Mac, then you can simply use the Get button or the button with the price in it to purchase and then install. And this is all you need to do to install. It'll sometimes ask you to sign in, but depending on your settings, you may only need to do that occasionally. Then you'll see it install here. You'll also see here Launchpad be active, as Launchpad is where you go to access the apps. So let's quit the App Store and go to Launchpad. And Launchpad we've looked at before. There are several different windows here I can get to by clicking on these. Typically the app that you've added will be added to the end of the last window or near that. So you can see it here, and you can launch the app here or any other way you launch apps. You can add it to the dock. You can run Spotlight with Command Space and launch it. And that's all you need to do to install and use an app from the App Store. It's pretty straightforward and simple. Now if you want to get an app from elsewhere, you can do that as well. So for instance, here in Safari, I've gone to the official website for an audio editor, and I can download this app from the developer. You can see here under Download, I can go there, and I can download for Mac, and it will ask me for permission to download. Once I've downloaded the app, I might find various things here. For instance, a disk image or an installer. The developer can create the app. The developer can distribute the app in any way they want. Apple doesn't dictate how the developer does things outside of the App Store. So that's why some developers will distribute with an installer, others with a disk image. A typical way though is to use a disk image, and when you open it up, usually there are instructions in here just telling you to drag this icon, which is the app, into the applications folder like that. And that actually copies it out of that disk image into your applications. So you can find that for about half of the apps that you download online. And then you have this disk image mounted here. You can click here to unmount the disk image. So now you can then have this in the downloads folder and get rid of that. I'll move that to the trash because I've used it already to install the app. Now when I go to Launchpad, I go to the last screen here, and there is Audacity. It has been installed by just dragging it to the applications folder like that. Now for removing an app, you can also use Launchpad. So in Launchpad, click on the app you want to uninstall and hold. Or Alternatively, click on any app or anywhere and you'll see you enter this mode where the apps are kind of shaking and there's these little X buttons here. So you can use these X buttons to uninstall an app. Any app downloaded from the Mac App Store can be uninstalled this way, and that's all you need to do. It's as simple as that. However, notice that some of these do not have the little X. Anything you install from outside the Mac App Store won't have that. So how do you get rid of them, like if we wanted to uninstall Audacity? Well, that depends on the app. In most cases, you can go to the Applications folder, find the app, and simply drag it to the trash. If you think that's too easy, well, the reason it is so easy is because for years now Apple has encouraged developers to include everything the app needs inside the app itself. So in other words, don't install all sorts of things in separate places on your system like in the library. That's why you saw all I needed to do to install Audacity was to drag it to the Applications folder. There was no installer that then put tons of support files in the library folder, for instance. So by dragging it to the trash, I've uninstalled it. There's really nothing else for me to do. Sometimes third-party apps have other ways to uninstall. Sometimes they do still put things, say, in the library folder. And you can find out more by usually going to the developer site and looking for it. You can sometimes search, or here there's help, frequently asked questions, and if I look further down I'll see installation, startup, and plugins. How do I uninstall? And for Mac it gives me instructions. It says drag Audacity to the trash, which I did. And also it suggests that if you really want you can go to Library, Application Support, Audacity, and get rid of what's in there. Now you may think that, well, this is what I want to do. I want to get rid of all the files. But in truth, most apps today, anything they put in a library is usually pretty small. Sometimes there's preferences files. Sometimes they're tiny little things that remember how the app was set up the last time you use it. These usually are so small it's not worth worrying about. So that's why you don't see a more complex uninstallation process. It's not like years ago where there may be huge files stored somewhere that you need to get rid of even after you've gotten rid of the app. So for the most part, just find out how the developer says to uninstall and follow their instructions. Otherwise, don't worry about doing much more than simply using Launchpad to delete the app or getting rid of it out of your Applications folder.